Season 5, Episode 6 of The Boys is finally here, and just like every time, this episode is packed with Easter eggs, meta commentary, and hidden details. So today, we're doing a full detailed breakdown. And without wasting any time, let's get started. Number 1. The episode opens with the legend, who used to be Vought's big Hollywood producer back in Season 3. But now, he's working inside a VMC theater owned by Vought itself. Once upon a time, the legend controlled superhero movies and propaganda, and now the same guy is serving popcorn. And VMC here is clearly a parody of AMC theaters. Just like every episode has some meta reference, this is another one. There are also a lot of posters in the background, an Oh Father movie, a firecracker movie, and even a popcorn bucket shaped like the Deep's mouth, similar to those giant sandworm, Groot, or Deadpool buckets in real life. Number 2. The Deep's reaction to Firecracker dying was honestly hilarious. At first, he thinks maybe she was just relocated or sent on vacation. Then Homelander says, "No room in the boat for non-believers." That line feels like a direct reference to Noah's Ark, where only loyal followers are allowed to survive. Anyway, the interesting part of this episode comes from the Saudi Arabia oil storyline. The entire pipeline subplot is an obvious satire of oil companies and celebrity PR campaigns. Even though the Deep is supposed to be a fish ambassador, he's forced to support the pipeline, which perfectly represents his hypocrisy. He keeps saying fish love it, and that line is basically a parody of real-world corporate greenwashing, where companies destroy the environment while still pushing an eco-friendly image. Number 3. Homelander's church gets a new ad in this episode. The show is no longer portraying Homelander as just a political leader. They're straight up presenting him like a messiah, which has been building up for multiple episodes now. Number 4. Frenchie finally prepares the virus, and Butcher's plan is to spread it through the church using an air freshener. Then the legend arrives, and his dialogue creates such a weird contrast in the room. is serious, Huey is stressed out, but the legend treats the entire situation like old Hollywood gossip. When he calls Starlight young Ursula Andress, that's actually important. Ursula Andress didn't really look like Starlight originally, but after plastic surgery she started resembling her more. So maybe the show is subtly mocking or complimenting Starlight's actress. Hard to tell. Number 5. The scene between Sage and Ashley confirms that the new Ashley can actually control bodies, which I'd been wondering about for a while. Though apparently she has to walk backward to do it. Then the security guard asks for a code word, and Ashley says, "Ginger snap." Not sure if it's a direct reference to anything specific, but ginger probably refers to Ashley's red hair, since redheads are often called gingers. And snap likely refers to Ashley constantly mentally snapping throughout every season because of her insane job. That stress literally made her lose her hair. Number 6. At the retirement home, there's an ad playing on TV for an old movie called Engine Number 9. That title itself is a massive red flag because Injun is an intentionally offensive slur historically used for Native Americans in old Hollywood westerns and cartoons. This sequence is another example of Vought propaganda. It shows how Vought spent decades turning racist stereotypes into family entertainment. Number 7. Sage comes up with a genius plan to read Soldier Boy's mind, and Ashley ends up seeing his memories. Sage expected rage and anger inside his head, but instead, there was actually a proud father. That's huge because Soldier Boy is emotionally stunted. He doesn't know how to openly express affection, especially towards someone like Homelander. But deep down, he is proud that Homelander is powerful and feared. Homelander has spent the entire season desperately searching for his father's approval, and secretly, Soldier Boy already feels that approval, they just can't communicate it to each other. Ashley also says she saw things so horrifying in Soldier Boy's mind that she literally wet herself. That heavily implies his mind is genuinely terrifying. And once again, the show is clearly setting up some future reveal, maybe PTSD from war trauma or all the violence he committed throughout his life. Number 8. Bombsight, the character they've been searching for over the last 2 episodes, is finally revealed through a ridiculous diet pill commercial instead of some grand heroic introduction. That anticlimax is exactly what The Boys is known for. The most disturbing line is when he proudly says their pills use a methamphetamine formula. This is a reference to the 1950s and 60s diet culture in America, where dangerous chemical-based weight loss pills were legally marketed, especially toward housewives. Doctors literally prescribed pep pills to keep women thin and energetic. Bombsight even says you should replace breakfast with the pills, which is terrifying. The show is mocking how diet industries used to sell starvation culture as empowerment. Number 9. Butcher, Kimiko, and kidnap Goldie from the hospital, and while leaving the room, there's a poster in the background mentioning Merchant Mariner Torpedo. Torpedo is actually one of the earliest Vought superhero team members who worked alongside Soldier Boy, and he'll apparently appear in the Vought Rising show too. Number 10. Sage intentionally gives Homelander and Soldier Boy the wrong address because she's already moved into Phase 3 of her plan and has no intention of returning to Vought Tower. Then she shows Soldier Boy footage involving Clara, footage fans probably never wanted to see again. Clara mattered deeply to both men, but for different reasons. Soldier Boy knew her for decades, while Homelander had become almost obsessively attached to her. When Soldier Boy watches the footage, he refers to Clara as a doll. That word choice perfectly shows how he processes emotions through toxic masculinity and shame rather than empathy. But the real tragedy here belongs to Homelander. He says, "I couldn't let her go." That might genuinely be the most vulnerable line he's ever spoken in the series. He's openly admitting he doesn't know how to handle attachment or grief. Number 11. Then total chaos breaks out. Black Noir sabotages the Deep, causing the pipeline to leak and killing 1.4 billion fish, the same pipeline the Deep had been promoting. Afterward, the Deep kills Black Noir. At the same time, Sage joins the boys to help retrieve V1 from Bombsight. Obviously, she's manipulating them. But then comes the most important emotional moment of the episode, Goldie's conversation with Kimiko and Frenchie. Usually, the boys treats immortality like a power fantasy. But for the first time, the show seriously asks whether living forever is actually a blessing or a curse. Goldie explains that Bombsight stole V1 because he wanted them to stay together forever. To him, immortality was a love language. But for Goldie, immortality means endless loneliness and torture. Then she delivers what might be the best line of the entire episode. "Summer is only beautiful when you know winter is coming." That line basically explains why mortality gives life meaning. If death didn't exist, moments themselves would lose value. That realization hits Kimiko hard. She starts thinking about Frenchie and Huey and realizes that if she became immortal, she'd have to watch everyone she loves grow old and die. That's why she says, "We don't want to be vampires either." Honestly, this scene practically confirmed that these characters are going to die eventually. Number 12. Then Annie meets O'Father, and we learn they share a past connection. Annie reminds him that he used to be a genuinely good person, a preacher who truly believed in faith. She even calls him her cool older brother. But O'Father explains that he lost faith in God when none of his prayers were answered. Then Homelander appeared, a visible force that actually responded. Afterward, Huey interrupts their confrontation and threatens to release the virus unless Annie is allowed to leave. But honestly, this moment felt strange to me. What exactly was Huey's end goal? So I have a theory. I don't think Huey's bottle actually contained the virus. I think he was bluffing because the virus had already been placed inside the air freshener earlier. We'll probably find out in the next episodes. Number 13. We finally see Bombsight in person, and he literally looks like a 90s Salman Khan parody. The funniest part is that he's carrying V1 in his pocket so obviously that even a blind person could notice the giant bulge. Number 14. This scene is important because for the first time, someone talks honestly to Homelander without fear. Homelander has completely given up by this point. He believed V1 would make him an immortal god, but when the hideout turns out empty, he realizes Sage manipulated him. Then he says, "Did I fail you?" Clearly talking to Madeline Stillwell, whom he's probably hallucinating again like earlier in the season. The legend, meanwhile, is terrified but still calm. He knows Homelander could kill him at any moment, so he decides to tell the truth. He explains that every soup in Vought goes through the same cycle. First, they believe they'll stay famous forever, and eventually they get replaced. What's interesting is that the legend admits he was also part of that system. By bringing up Goldie and the retired soups, he explains to Homelander that decline is inevitable. This is actually the first time anyone has treated Homelander like a human being instead of a monster. And that's probably why Homelander spares him in the end, not out of fear, but because someone finally understood him. Though honestly, I was fully expecting Homelander to kill him right there. Homelander learns that Vought tracked necklace sales through gold, which helps him locate Bombsight. At the same time, Sage invites Soldier Boy to confront Bombsight. Sage is seriously using every ounce of her intelligence here. What's fascinating is that Soldier Boy keeps doing completely unpredictable things. His mission was simply to retrieve and destroy V1. But instead, he first depowers Bombsight while Bombsight is literally eating. This feels like deliberate setup for Vought Rising. Back in Season 3, Soldier Boy mostly came across as a violent jerk, but this season keeps revealing new layers to him in every episode. Sometimes he's a proud father, sometimes an honest lover, sometimes a strangely compassionate enemy, and sometimes he even feels like a broken man on the verge of tears. Number 16. The ending twist is massive because Soldier Boy finally chooses someone else over his own ego. Throughout the season, he both hated and secretly admired Homelander, but during his confrontation with Bombsight, he realizes that Clara, aka Stormfront, genuinely saw Homelander as the ultimate evolution of soups. In that moment, Soldier Boy understands that Homelander has technically surpassed him. When Soldier Boy depowers Bombsight, it's actually a mercy moment. Bombsight was exhausted from immortality. The earlier Goldie conversation was setting this up the whole time. Living forever isn't a blessing, it's a burden. That's why Bombsight willingly chooses to become powerless. And then Soldier Boy gives V1 to Homelander. Even though he hates Homelander, he isn't choosing him. He's choosing Clara's final wish. And yes, Sage definitely predicted this possibility. She pretends to be shocked in front of Butcher, but she's not stupid. Her earlier apocalypse discussion with Ashley already proved she calculated every worst-case scenario and even prepared her own bunker. Her only real goal is chaos. Whether Homelander becomes immortal or not, she wants the apocalypse to happen. If Butcher won, chaos would happen. If Homelander won, even bigger chaos would happen. That's the true meaning of Sage's Phase 3 plan. So the worst-case scenario has officially happened. Homelander is now immortal. He has taken V1 and Butcher is completely screwed. At this point, nobody knows what the boys' next plan even is because they spent the entire season chasing V1 and still failed to secure it. And now even the virus probably won't work on Homelander anymore. So, what do you guys think Butcher's next move will be? And with only 2 episodes left, how are they possibly going to solve all of this? Anyway, that's it for today's breakdown. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe because more breakdowns like this are coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys.